Hi, my name's Hannah and welcome to this beginner series. In this video, we're going to be breaking down Sun Salutation A. So for this video, you might need some blocks. I would have them to hand just in case, or whatever else it is that you have at home as an alternative. And yeah, I'll meet you on the mat and we'll get started. So generally speaking, in most yoga practices that we see in the West, physical yoga practices, the yoga teacher sequences the practice themselves. And for a lot of those classes, it'll be a new sequence each class or a new sequence every few classes. But there are some forms of yoga like Ashtanga that use a set series that is repeated over time. Sun Salutation A, it's a short sequence, but this is one of those things that sometimes teachers use in classes. It never changes. It's been the same since it was created. And the idea between a sun salutation is to generate a little bit of heat and warmth in the body as a way to prepare the body for some of the other poses. So we're going to get started, and we're going to begin at the top of the mat. So coming to the top of your mat, we'll start in a pose called mountain pose, and it's as it sounds. It's meant to be quite a strong pose, a lifted pose, just as if you were a mountain. So we're going to bring the big toes together with a little gap between the heels, and this is the traditional way of coming into mountain. For some people that doesn't feel good and it feels a little bit better to take the feet about hip width and parallel. That's an option as well. It's totally up to you, but otherwise we're bringing the big toes together. Think about rocking back onto the heels of the feet to lift the toes. See if you can spread the toes nice and wide, and then pop each toe down one by one, really rooting firmly into the ground. So you're pressing each corner of the foot into the earth. From here, we're going to move up into the kneecaps. I want you to pull up through the kneecaps to engage your quads. You'll see the quads will turn on as soon as you pull up through the kneecaps here. And then from here, we're moving up a little bit further. Think about tucking the tailbone under just slightly. So for lots of us, when we're standing naturally, we have a little bit of a curve. The bum sticks out a little bit, which can put a little bit of pressure on the lower back. So we want to just tuck it under slightly to create length instead. Squeeze the navel in towards the spine, and then lift the shoulders up and away from the ears before relaxing them down. The arms are going to come down beside us with the palms facing forward. Chin is parallel to the mat, so we're not lifting, we're just keeping the gaze nice and neutral. Slightly lifting the chest here as well. We want to stand nice and proud and tall. And then we're lifting up through the crown of the head. So although this is just, technically it's just standing at the top of the mat, it's actually a lot more than that. The body is still working in this pose. Perfect. So that's mountain pose. From here we'll come into extended mountain. So this is normally done on a breath in. Typically when we practice our sun salutation, it's practiced with the breath, so one breath per movement. So normally we would stand in mountain, we'd take an inhale and we'd sweep the arms up to the sky. So the arms are going overhead. We want to make sure that the shoulders stay down and away from the ears, and the gaze can stay neutral. You can bring the palms to touch if it feels comfortable for you, and you can take the gaze up towards the fingertips if you wanted, and if that felt good in your body, you don't have to. It's similar to mountain pose. All we're doing is reaching the arms up and overhead. So we still want to root down through the feet. We still want to pull up through the kneecaps. Still want to squeeze the navel in. All the same things, just that we've extended the shape with the arms. Lovely. Then from here, on an out breath, we're going to fold forward, and we can swan dive forward by taking the arms out beside us, or we can bring the palms to touch, take the hands through heart center, and then reach down towards the mat, whichever feels better for you. It's different from teacher to teacher. I like to bring my hands through heart center. So as we exhale, we'll bring the palms to touch. We want to start to hinge forward from the hips, taking the chest down towards the legs, as the hands come down from the face, through the chest, and then all the way down towards the earth to come into a forward fold. There's lots of different options that we can take here. So you can soften the knees as much as you need, as much as feels good in this pose. If you prefer, you could grab some blocks or something similar to place the hands on top of, if that feels a little bit more comfortable for you. Or we can just reach down towards the mat. So the intention of this pose is to lengthen the back of the legs. So the intention isn't necessarily to reach the mat at all. just kind of reaching down towards. So it doesn't matter if the hands don't reach the mat here. As long as you feel the stretch in the back of the legs, you're in the right place. What we often see in forward folds is a lot of rounding. So a lot of kind of folding from the waist rather than folding from the hips. And we want to try and avoid that if possible. So if that means bringing the blocks into play and lifting a little bit higher out of the fold helps you to stay lengthened through the spine, that's a great option. Think about relaxing the head and the neck here as well. The head is a great tool in our forward fold. It helps to draw our chest down and towards the legs, deepening the stretch. Lovely. Nice. From here, we're coming into a halfway lift. So for this one, we're going to slide the hands either up onto the shins or maybe up onto the thighs, creating length through the spine. The idea of this pose is it's almost like a flat back position. We want to create one line from the crown of the head down through the neck, through the spine, and out through the tailbone. So the crown of the head points forward, the tailbone points back, and we're drawing the shoulders back and away from the ears, squeezing the navel in. Perfect. Lovely. Then on our exhale, we're going to make our way back into plank pose. So I'm going to pop my blocks to one side just so that they're out of the way. Plant the hands down, bending the knees as much as you need for that, and then stepping the feet all the way back into my plank. So in our Sun Salutation is a Vinyasa. It takes us from plank, it travels down through Chaturanga, up into Cobra and back into Downward Facing Dog. And we covered this in the first video, breaking down a Vinyasa. So I'll go through this briefly, but if you wanted to go through your Vinyasa in a little bit more detail, then I would check out that video instead. But yes, so we're meeting in plank pose. We're going to take an inhale. We're going to shift the shoulders forward. So rather than having the shoulders stacked directly above the wrists, we're bringing them in front of the fingertips. As I exhale, I'm going to bend the elbows, pausing halfway before releasing completely to the mat. Then taking a breath in, and I even took the toes. I start to lift the chest as I squeeze my glutes. And as I exhale, I'm going to make my way back into Downward Facing Dog. Lift the hips nice and high. Lovely. We're halfway through our Sun Salutation. All that's left to do is make our way back to the top of the mat. So as I breathe in, I'm going to take my gaze forward and start to bend through the knees. And you could walk the feet up towards the hands here if you wanted to. You could take just one step to the top of the mat if you wanted to, but just getting and making your way all the way back to the top. We're coming back into our forward fold, so softening the knees as you need, releasing down towards the earth. Then with an inhale, I'm going to slide my hands back up onto the shins or the thighs, coming back into our tabletop position. As I exhale, I'm going to reach back down and come back into a fold, adding in another breath. Lovely. With an inhale, let's come back up to standing. So soften through the knees, sweep the arms all the way back up to the sky as you make your way up to standing for extended mountain pose. And then on our exhale, the hands come back down beside us as we meet in mountain pose. Lovely. So essentially that is our Sun Sal A. That's our Sun Salutation A. We're going to go through it one more time. We're going to move a little bit faster with the breath, just so that we, create a little bit of familiarity with these poses. So meeting back in your mountain pose, standing nice and tall, lift up through the crown of the head, create lots of length in your body. Inhale, sweep the arms up to the sky for extended mountain. Exhale, hinge forward from the hips. Grab your blocks if you need. Let the head hang nice and heavy as you come into your fold. Perfect. Inhale, slide the hands up onto the shins or the thighs. Draw the shoulders back and away from the ears as you lengthen your spine. Exhale, bend the knees to plant the hands down and step back into plank. Let's work through our Vinyasa together. As we inhale, we're going to shift our shoulders forward. Exhale, bend the elbows lower down halfway before releasing to the mat completely. And at the toes, take an inhale, lift the chest, find your back bend, your cobra. And then exhale, let's meet back in Downward Facing Dog. Lift the hips high. Lovely, well done. Take an inhale, stepping to the top of the mat, as many steps as you need to get there. And then on our exhale, we're going to release forward into our fold, whatever that looks like for you. As you inhale, slide the hands up onto the shins or maybe the thighs, create a little bit of length through your spine. Then exhale, return back into your fold once more. Let it go. Fabulous. Inhale, sweep the arms up to the sky. Let's come back into extended mountain pose, reaching the arms up and overhead. As you exhale, bring the arms back down beside you, and we'll meet back where we started in mountain pose. Perfect, well done. So that was a breakdown of Sun Salutation A. So we're kind of building on the foundations now as we move up towards the middle, the standing poses and the balancing poses in a physical practice. Thank you for joining me today. Namaste.